Okay, hi. Good evening, everyone on our Facebook Live. Today, we are proud to have Evelyn Song, our very pretty and friendly clinical psychologist from MPS Psychological Services, as
Hi.
our special guest today. So, good evening, Evelyn.
Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, evening, everyone who is tuned in.
Yeah, and all right. So, she's Evelyn, and my name is Zhengning. I am the host for today. So, today we are going to talk about overcoming depression. But before we start, let's ask how is our guest doing lately. So, how are you doing, Evelyn?
I guess same like everyone, trying to go back into our new normal right now, trying to adapt as well. Apart from not eating so much, I think work has been slowly catching up. How about you, Jenny?
Yeah, I'm doing actually doing quite well since MCO has been partially lifted. We are more. I'm more how to say relaxed to be able to catch up with my friends.
Right.
We go Mama store. Yeah, I miss Mama a lot. Yeah, I think I miss Mama a lot, and also yeah, we are allowed to go outdoor for
Mm,
activities, for example, hiking. And yeah,
right.
so it's very good that we are able to enjoy fresh air in the outdoors since MCO was partially lifted.
Yeah,
So
and I
yeah, so
think
uh-huh.
yeah, it's very refreshing to go out again. And I think some of us may realize, when we're driving halfway, it's like, oh, this building, I never noticed it, but it has always been there, right? So it's really, really refreshing. And
Yeah,
for you guys who are tuned in today on a Saturday afternoon, feel free to message, give comments about how you're doing as well. And if you have any question, guess we are okay to pause and just, answer any questions that you have.
yeah. Leave any question. So yeah, so just want to ask. So Evelyn, since
Mm,
because MCO during MCO,
mm,
we are locked down and we are not allowed to meet with people. So that time, right? Most of your clients you will be meeting up via online like Zoom or WebEx.
mm,
So right now, since MCO has been partially lifted, uh, you've been you've been meeting face to face with your client, right?
mm.
So how
Yeah.
was the transition like? What did you notice or how do you feel about this transition from online meeting and to physical meeting like back in the days? How do you feel about that?
Good question. I think right now, I mean, when MCO first started, right, I think
Mm-hmm.
many of us practitioners also, we were also trying to get used to going into online sessions, providing online sessions, because most of us, we provide face-to-face
Mm-hmm.
sessions. But right now, since most of us, we're also going back into our own physical office, the space, but then it also feels different, right? Especially, when we have our mask on and then we are maintaining that distance with the client. There are some, not difficulties, there are some differences, but I would say that it is actually quite good because some of my existing clients, it's really happy to see them again. Like, it's like catching up and to see
Mm-hmm.
how they are doing, how we are doing, and then trying to work on certain issues. But I guess right now, most of us, we are also slowly trying to ease in. Mm.
So not like every one of your clients starting to embrace the face-to-face meeting. Still, some of your clients still prefer online. Is that correct?
Yeah, some clients, they still prefer online, especially those maybe got no transportation or they are from they're in other states still. So we still do online sessions. But for those who are here, then yeah. But we do give our clients the option to choose whether or not, they want to meet online or physical. It's really depending on their level of comfort.
Yeah, I see. So that's a good thing, lah. Since now they have the option to choose
Yeah.
whether to uh, meet face to face. Because I think that some people might not, how to say, might not wanted to meet a person face to face. Maybe due to afraid of getting COVID. Yeah, I have that fear actually. Fear of getting COVID or maybe some other issues are like, yeah, you mentioned the no transportation or traffic jams, all that. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. This MCO, that's a good side of it, which is pushing people towards doing something online or
Yeah.
pushing towards online meetings because yeah, now we have the option to choose. I think without MCO, we will still be stuck with some traditional options or like for example payment. Now almost every store that I've been to accept e-payment. For example,
Yes.
Touch and Go. Yeah, which is a good thing. It's not present back before MCO period.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's
Exactly.
actually I think it's a good thing if you think it this way. Yeah,
So
so
basically, everything is changing, right? Like
yeah,
even
yeah.
consumer behavior, everything is changing right now. And I guess, like, when it comes to providing services, I think a lot of mental health or non-mental health related services, the way of consumption is also very much different right now.
Have you? All right, this is a question I want to ask. Have you, of the viewers, been noticing that you've been losing weight during MCO? If you do, please comment down because, yeah, surprisingly, I lost 4 kilograms during MCO. Well, still considered healthy, but yeah, that shows that actually by eating more at home, yeah, you manage to
Yeah.
lose weight. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I find that a lot of people actually experiencing that as well, like staying at home,
Mm-hmm.
eating healthier, and then, working out slightly more conscious as compared to, if you go out then, suddenly you're just craving for bubble tea, then you just get bubble tea. It's good to know. I'm curious to know how is everyone else doing as well. Even though today's chat it's about, overcoming depression, right? Yeah, curious to know how's everyone doing.
Yep. Okay, so right now, let's start our session. So
Yeah.
the first question that people that might want to ask is, so Evelyn, what is depression and anxiety? Can you explain to us what is
Mm,
that?
right. So a lot of people, we always say words like, "Oh, I feel depressed," or "I feel anxious," right? But when we're talking about a depression or an anxiety as a disorder, right? It is a medical condition. Yeah. So basically, depression and anxiety is different from, you feel sad or you feel anxious. Depression and anxiety, it's a form of a medical condition. It's just basically like, you have diabetes or some cardiac issues. These are all true medical condition. So how do we then differentiate, right? Because a lot of people they actually ask, what's the difference between, I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling depressed, right? Or I feel I'm anxious. Is this like an anxiety disorder kind of thing? Right? So that's a very good question. So one of the few things that we normally try to distinguish is that if a person feels sad for a prolonged period of time, so roughly about 2 weeks, yeah, feels sad for a prolonged period of time to the extent where it affects their functioning, their ability to eat or sleep is affected, then that may possibly be the person may possibly be going through depression. Yeah, same goes with anxiety. Yeah, if a person feels anxious for an extended period of time, then it affects their functioning. Then possibly this person may be going through more than just feeling anxious. So it's basically just like being diagnosed to have diabetes, right? Does eating more sugar make you diabetic? The answer
Mm,
is
yes.
maybe an extended period of time, yes. But if today I decided to eat like one whole pack of like gummy chewy bears or something like that, it doesn't make me a diabetic. But of course, it has to be an extended period of time, taking consideration, the intake of food, your lifestyle, to be diagnosed with a certain condition like diabetes. Same goes with depression and anxiety. It is a medical condition. It is not exactly like what people say, oh, it's all in your head, you're thinking too much, you have a choice or an option. A lot of times, depression and anxiety, there's also biological evidence to that. So it is not all about thinking too much or not doing anything about it.
I see. So is there a guidelines or how would you know that you've been sad for how many days or how many weeks that you should consider like consulting a psychologist or to seek help? Do you have a like guideline how many days that we feel constantly sad?
Right, good question. So generally, if you're talking about depression, feeling sad, typically it's about 2 weeks. So if you're feeling sad for 2 weeks, right, and then your sleep is affected. For instance, a person can be either sleeping a lot or losing sleep, not able to fall asleep. Yeah, that could be one. Or eating more. They can be eating less as well. Appetite, it goes both ways. Same goes for sleep. They can be losing interest to do things. So, for instance, let's say I used to like playing PS4, and suddenly I just lost interest. Something that I enjoy doing, I just lost interest. So, these are some of the signs that you can pick up, but roughly about 2 weeks.
I see. So guys, remember it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks if you feel down or feel depressed continuously, yeah, you should go and seek help or maybe talk to your friends, family about it. Yeah. So, okay. All right. So, another question is how severely can this illness, because this is considered as a medical illness, am I right? A medical illness. So, how severely can this illness affect a person? And what is the worst case scenario for getting this illness?
Mm, mm. So, yes, it is a medical condition. I like to use this analogy and adapted from WHO, right? When we talk about a person being healthy, a lot of times the first thing we think about is physical health, right? But actually, health, it's about, combination of physical health and mental health at the same time. And when we talk about mental health, it is not just about, me not having depression or me not having an anxiety disorder or a panic disorder, right? It goes beyond that. Mental health, just like physical health, right? If your blood levels are okay, if your glucose level is okay, but if you didn't realize that you have lump somewhere else, right? It can impact your physical health. Same goes with mental health. You not feeling depressed or not feeling sad for a long period of time doesn't necessarily mean that mental health, mental fitness wise, that you're okay, because mental health takes into consideration your ability to bounce back from any stressor or any life events. So when you ask about, how serious, how severe can it get? Usually, what we look at is there are a few levels. So we can look at either, the person is mildly depressed or anxious, moderately or severely. And generally, for those mild to moderate, we will recommend them to go for therapy or counseling. But for those to higher moderate to severe, we would recommend, medication or combination treatment would be the best. So most of the time, if let's say we're looking at the more severe spectrum, like what I shared earlier, it can actually affect a person's ability to, cope, to function at work. Concentration is poor in school, no appetite, no sleep. And with all this combined, it can even, exacerbate or make a person feel even more helpless and even, not good about it.
I see. So, will this illness like cause someone to suicide? Because I think that might be the worst case scenario, right? If of getting this illness, yeah.
Mm,
Is it true that people might suicide if they get depressed or anxiety?
right. Now, if we look into like what I shared earlier, the different stages, right, different severity, to some extent, yes, depression, anxiety can actually lead to a person having a lot of suicidal thoughts, having plans, and eventually executing these plans, right? But I'm not talking that all, depressed people or all anxious people will definitely end their lives or plans. I believe every one of us at some point in our life, we would actually think about, having these suicidal thoughts, right? And when I'm stressed out, sometimes I would think like, I wish that I can just die and don't need to think about all these things. And I believe all these are very, very normal reaction of us, right? But the thing is, if we have come to a point where, this kind of low mood is really affecting in major aspects of our life, to a point that we are feeling suicidal and we have plans and wanting to actually execute it, this is when, people around a lot of times, maybe they've picked up these signs, but they may not necessarily know what to do or what to say, and that leaving that person feel even more helpless. So I guess the next thing would be really, what can you do as a person if you're going through this, and what can people around you do as well?
So about that, how can, like you said, how can we overcome this nasty illness if we were to get it? So what can we do? Yeah, how to overcome this?
Mm. So the we, you're referring to whoever that is feeling depressed, anxious, or family members, yeah, or both.
We as if we have been diagnosed with this, yeah, how do we get better, or how do we overcome this?
Okay, right. So the first thing is, if you notice that you are experiencing all this, first thing to look into is that how is all these things affecting your life at the moment, right? Every one of us actually, our human body is actually a very amazing um, structure, because every one of us, we actually have this inbuilt mechanism. It's called that would actually generate resilience, right? So what is actually that inbuilt mechanism is basically called human connection. A lot of
Mm.
times, and even actually research, right, find that people who are feeling sad or anxious, depressed, the moment when they reach out, okay, that itself can actually change our physiological changes in our body. That changes will create more what we call as the happy hormones, right? It will make us feel happier, it will make us feel calmer. And that, most importantly, it will also reduce the damage that is caused by the stress response in our body. So basically, our body is actually capable for self-healing, and it's capable to heal our heart as well, right? There are certain hormones that is being released when you reach out to other people. So first thing first is, if let's say you notice or you've been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, I will highly recommend two things. Number one is, if you're okay with it, do reach out, seek help from a mental health professional, either through counseling or psychotherapy. Secondly, most importantly, is that, reach out and speak to someone about it. I know a lot of us may feel, people don't understand. Yeah, don't understand about how a person with depression, anxiety might feel. But I think having that courage is also very important. Yeah, speaking to someone. That's why we're having this platform. And we hope that through this platform, it can serve as a community for everyone to feel understood. Yeah, so if you have any questions at all, please do feel free to type it out. I know MHA is also very active on Facebook. Do reach out and speak to the people.
Okay, so just now, Evelyn, you mentioned about actually by reaching out to people, you actually how to say, you are actually in reinforcing or like healing from your current condition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so um, because I've been thinking about this,
Yeah.
um, because we human beings are undoubtedly a social animal, and but we tend to have, for example, for a man, like some of them will think that I just need myself enough. I'm sufficiently enough for myself. So that's
Mm.
why does it shows that actually men are more prone to getting depressed or anxiety because of their nature. Like we try to be manly. Yeah, we want to do everything our own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
is it? Yeah. Do you find that actually most of the case like men get depressed easily because of like not reaching
Mm.
out and that.
Mm.
Do you agree with this?
Right. I think actually depression and anxiety, it can affect anyone, everyone, right? Women, men, children, elderly. It can actually affect everyone. But then I do agree to some certain extent that, when we have an image of a guy, right? It should be maybe the typical one is like, macho, I can handle my problems. I will not share with anyone else, that kind of thing. But I think this having this kind of impression, perception, may also oftentimes stop a person from seeking help as compared to women. They are more expressive. But of course, I'm not saying that all the men and all the women, they are like that, like as in a blanket statement. Yeah. But generally, do find that, for men, if they're going through really difficult times, they may not actually express it out. But if, let's say, you notice that, someone, like a really good friend or a friend guy who is a bit, not like his usual self, I don't think there's any harm to reach out to this person and say, hey, I noticed that you're a little different as compared to how you were before, just checking in with you. How are things? Right? I would recommend asking, how are things, then are you okay? An
Mm.
open-ended question than a closed-ended kind of question. Because if you ask, are you okay? Normally, people would just say, yeah, I'm okay, right? But if you leave it open, right, and say, just checking in with you and see how are things, then the person maybe will be able to share more. He may not necessarily express that he's feeling depressed or anxious, but the fact that you open up, you allow that conversation to happen, I think that goes a really long way.
Okay, so a message to all the men out there: if you feel down or feel depressed, yeah, it's actually more manlier to go and seek for help and also share your feelings. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's actually do your mind and body a good thing just to
yeah.
share. Yeah, so
Actually,
yeah.
reaching out, it needs a lot of courage. It needs a lot of courage.
Yeah, so it shows that you are manlier if you share about your feelings. Yeah. So yeah, next is so do you have Evelyn? Do you have any patient that have overcome this depression and anxiety? So if there is, can you share with us about the journey that they had taken? How it's like? How? Yeah, share more about the story.
Okay. Um, so a lot of people think that, depression, anxiety is like a death sentence, and you cannot actually get better, right? But actually, a person can actually walk out of depression and anxiety. So one example that I can think about is, so I have this one client. I'll just name her, say, Maya. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Maya, she actually didn't contact me directly. She was actually reached out to me through her brother. So the brother contacted me, and then the brother told me that Maya has been going through really, really difficult times. She was previously on medication. So she saw a couple of psychiatrists, was on medication. mood is still, fluctuates. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not okay. And the time when the brother reached out to me was the time where she actually wanted to attempt suicide. That time she was really depressed during the MCO time, right? Because work is affected and many other issues as well. So when the brother reached out to me, I actually tried to be in touch with Maya. So started talking to Maya, and she was initially, resistant when it comes to therapy. But I guess that's really, really normal because most of us, we don't exactly understand or know what do we do in session, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. So imagine uncertainty in session plus a lot of uncertainty during the MCO period. That can be extremely very stressful. Yeah, so what we did was, during the first session at least, to explain to the client about how is it normally like, to clarify any of these doubts. Yeah, because a lot of times we do notice all this fear can be a hindrance to seeking counseling or services. So I saw her it was planned to see her for at least 6 times. So I saw her for 3 times, something like that. And then she told me that she actually felt a little bit better. I mean, her depression, her mood states, her anxiety were slowly picking up to be more, as she said, stabilized. But during the process, we did work on a lot of issues that is causing her anxiety and depression, right? Because a lot of times when clients, they come in, let's say with palpitation, with anxiety, right? And they want to solve this palpitation, this anxiety or depression. But as we try to understand what is causing this palpitation and anxiety, the growing thing that is causing this, and we try to, apart from helping her using different techniques to manage this, but also looking into some of the possible causes, I find that, I think this was one of the reasons why she managed to, pick up and got better eventually. So we stopped at 5 sessions. I'm still right now, she said that she's okay, she will reach out, but we do encourage booster sessions as well. Booster sessions meaning, maybe once in a month, once in 2 months, just to check in and see how she's doing. It's just like, going for a blood check, right? We do that, try to assess how are we internally. But for coming for sessions, it's really not, it doesn't mean that you need to be depressed and anxious to have a problem to come to see a therapist. A lot of times I go for therapy myself to get to learn a little bit more about myself as well. Doesn't necessarily mean that, I'm depressed, I'm anxious. Back then I was depressed, I was anxious. But right now, it's a process of growth and understanding. And I do believe each and every one of us have that internal resilience. But how do we then, pick that up and try to help us cope in situations? Yeah, so it's not a death sentence, and you can actually walk out of it. There will be days that you feel low, but there are actually many ways to manage that.
So guys, don't give up hope. Yeah, so just now Evelyn mentioned that even though she's a psychologist, she also go for sessions, am I right? So that shows that actually we are all human beings. It's not that psychologist does not face this problem or immune to this problem. Yeah, so it's actually human. We are all human beings lah. So yeah, go and seek help again. If
Learn
you
more about yourself. Be curious about yourself. I think that is actually, you can never get to know enough about yourself because we change, environment change. Yeah, be curious.
Yeah. So yes, yay, we can get better. So yeah. Okay, so how, let's say this client of yours, she did better, like just now you mentioned, that that client, how do you know, like, does it have a test, like saying that, so now you are getting better and you pass this test? Is there a test for depression, anxiety, like to prove that you are fully recovered from that?
Right. So normally what happens in session is that there are a few ways to look at it. The first one would really be what the client reports, right? How the client feels herself or himself from as compared to, during the first time, and then you notice the progress until now. Basically, what the client report is number one. Number two, there are actually what we call as objective measures. So basically, a list of questionnaires where the person can actually fill up for anxiety and depression. If you guys would like to look it up, it is actually called BECK, back depression inventory, or back anxiety inventory. Okay, so these two are what we call as clinical assessments. So maybe some of you can actually find it online, but don't interpret it by yourself, okay? Because this is actually a diagnostic tool. So with diagnostic tool, meaning to say that these tools will actually needed to be you actually need to speak to your psychologist about this or your psychiatrist about this. Yeah, but basically there are tools that can actually measure, depression and anxiety levels. So apart from clients' self-report, apart from all these tools, these are mainly the two. And if let's say, client comes in together with family members, then we will also try to understand from the perspective of the family members or friends if the client is comfortable with it.
Okay, so there is a test. It's more like a MCQ question, like
So
questionnaires.
it's a questionnaire, and then it's Likert scale. So you rate from, let's say, 1 to 4. So from the week of these 2 weeks, how frequently do you feel about, let's say, number 1, feeling low mood or sad? So you just rate from 1 to 4. Yeah. But again, all these are clinical assessment tool. You can have a look about it to understand what exactly is depression and anxiety. But if you happen to do it yourself and you score high, it does not mean that you have an anxiety disorder, right? To get diagnosed, it will be best for you to seek or ask a mental health professional. So to get diagnosis, either a psychologist like myself or a psychiatrist.
So you guys can look out for Evelyn if you suspect yourself or you doing the test and get high scores, which is not a good thing, right? Getting a high score is not a good thing.
Well, having a high score, it may mean the person is really not coping during that time, right? Perhaps it's not a good thing, but I think my focus is, yes, we have all these symptoms, then what's next, right? Because I believe, if we have experienced depression ourselves, it's not a nice situation to be in. And it's not something like, I choose to be depressed. I choose not to have appetite to eat. I choose not to, feel motivated, right? So all these things, it is something that, again, is a medical condition. And once you identify that perhaps your score is high, there are ways to manage that, right? Not all hopes are lost. So there are ways to manage it. There are, whether counseling, whether through medication, some other kind of support or activities. There are ways to manage it.
I see. Then, so can this kind of illness be cured by medicine alone?
Good question. I usually like to, yeah, ask clients that can diabetes be cured by medication alone?
Good question.
What would be
I
your
think
answer?
my answer will be not really, because I think taking medication is just to alleviate momentarily the damage done, but it's you have to change not just that not just taking medicine. You have to change your lifestyle, something else and something else. For example, maybe your lifestyle was not healthy. Improving your health by exercising might help alleviate or cure your diabetes. So is it the same for this illness as well?
Yeah, so it's like example with diabetes, right? With medication itself, yes, it can, help you with your insulin level, right? To control the sugar level. But if you're taking this diabetic medication and yet on one hand you're still eating a lot of high carbs, high sugar content, sugary stuff, it won't be helpful in the long run, right? In a way, perhaps you have to change a little bit of your lifestyle and try to read up more about diabetes, what kind of food would be helpful, what kind of food wouldn't be helpful. Exactly the same with any mental health disorders or illnesses, right? A lot of times we feel that, with depression and anxiety, we don't know what to do. A lot of times, maybe also because we are, number one, we do not have enough knowledge. With medication itself, medication can help to some certain extent, but just the same thing like diabetes, if you don't control, like for diabetes, don't control your lifestyle and all. For depression, anxiety, if there are things that, we, apart from medication, we are not actively seeking, reaching out for additional support or help or through therapy, research shows that combination treatment would be the best. So medication and psychotherapy or counseling at the same time. But of course, not all individuals, like I shared earlier, mild, moderate depression, anxiety, usually we would recommend to start off with therapy first. But if let's say we realize that symptoms are getting more severe, then by right, your mental health professional, if it's a clinical psychologist or counselor, should refer you to see, let's say, a psychiatrist, but of course with your consent. So I wouldn't say just medication would be helpful. Combination treatment or combination intervention can be extremely helpful.
I see. So then, is there any alternative proven treatment method for depression and anxiety other than what you mentioned above? Because I believe right now we might come out a lot of different kind of treatment method, right? Other than medication or counseling. Is there anything new out there that's currently being used?
Mm. So generally, when you talk about within the mental health professionals, right? Generally, it is really, combination treatment when it comes to medication and also psychotherapy. But I guess what is more important is that, I always tell my clients this is that I can see you 1 hour per week or 2 hours per week. Yeah, but then a lot of times also the social support is also very important. Yeah, and I see a question here that says, who can a person reach out to and apart from the professional? That's actually a very, very good question, which I'll link up with this question here. Mental health professional, again, you can see them for once a week, twice a week, or once a month. But a lot of times, social support plays an important role. So if you know of someone around you that is possibly going through a rough time or going through depression, anxiety, do reach out to them. Remember these two things. Yeah, number one is really listening to them. Yeah, listening. A lot of times we may feel really helpless not being able to help this particular person. So for example, right, I remember hearing this from a client's father. The father told the client that Aya, don't think so much lah, you just listen to happy music, then you can be happy already lah. I cope like that ma. Yeah. Now if you hear this statement, right, as a receiver, you may feel like you don't understand me and listening music doesn't help me. Yeah, and at some point, maybe, we may even feel frustrated from it. But the thing is, if you listen, the meaning of the message is actually well intended, right? This person experienced like, really stressed out moment, listening to music helped, and this person hoped that using this technique can also help you. It is well intended, right? But that also possibly would lose the feeling like this person is listening to you. So if you guys out there want to support someone who is going through tough times, depressed or not, I guess just treat this person as human. People with anxiety and depression, they are not aliens, right? They are not weird. Just treat them like how you want to be treated, right? Just listen to them and offer a listening ear. If they want solution, or if you feel like you want to offer a solution, you can always check in with them. I hear that you are actually going through a really difficult time right now. Is there something that I can help you? If that person wants help, that person will tell you that person wants help, because you already open up that door, rather than your well-intentioned perhaps is being translated as you not listening or not being helpful. So listening, first step. Second step is, I always share, is empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is basically like, the last time you try to imagine, right, Jingning, last time you feel or remember how you are being understood. And for whoever who is listening here, when was the last time you feel that you're being understood? And what about that person? It can be a completely stranger or someone close to you that makes you feel understood. What did this person do? Did the person just let you talk? That you share didn't interrupt you and show that, he or she understands? Just listen and show empathy, like how you want to be treated. So I hope, Snoopy Oi, I hope that answers your question. I see a flood of messages coming in here. Do you want to answer them? So I see
Yeah.
Snora.
One of the question is, what is CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy? Is this a new kind of treatment?
Okay. So CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, as the name proposed. Cognitive basically means the way we think, like thinking. Okay. Behavior means your behavior. So this CBT basically, it focuses on these two things. And whenever we think about something sad, or for instance, let's say I feel I'm useless. This is a thought, right? Thought that I feel that other people think that I'm useless. So this is the cognition part. How does that make me feel? I feel really sucky about it. I feel really depressed about it. So there's this feeling aspect. And with these two combined, how will it affect our behavior? Perhaps, to a point where I may be, not motivated to talk to people around, right? So how we think will affect our behavior will affect our feelings. These three things will actually affect one and another. And that is why a lot of times when a person is depressed, they may spiral down. It's because one thought leads to some feelings, leads to some behavior, that behavior leads to another thinking. That's where they spiral down. So CBT basically aims to kind of like change their perspective, to tweak this cognition and this behavior side of things. And that eventually will also change how we feel in situations.
So is that done by counseling, or there's a device that do these kind of things?
Right. So basically, CBT is a talk therapy. So it happens in therapy session. There is no device unless if practitioner has some machines to measure, your heart rate or whatever it is. But generally, no, there's no device attached to you. Basically, what will happen in session is that your therapist will try to understand, some of the challenges you're experiencing, and then dive deeper into understanding what are the thoughts behind. Okay, what are the behaviors that you have, normally do, and how do you feel in that situation? So it goes back to, when we talk about anxiety, palpitation, when we talk about, feeling stressed and scared, all these symptoms, what CBT does is also looking things from different perspective and try to understand the different reasons that contribute to this problem. So usually effective wise for therapy, CBT, about 6 to 8 sessions, individual sessions, or it can be group sessions as well. So 6 to 8 sessions, then there will be, writing down some notes together with your therapist. So again, apart from, try to elevate all these feelings of sadness, anxiety, this will also be a process of understanding yourself. It's like, oh, I never knew that I would think that way, right? And then to see how we can actually try to change that perspective.
See, okay. So this is my first time of knowing what is CBT as well. And now let's move on to look at our comments. So starting now, we will be starting our Q&A sessions from this Facebook Live. So if you have any question want to ask our psychologist Evelyn here, just feel free to leave any question, and let's go through the comments on people's questions. So Christopher Chong says, I lost 5 kg and then regained 3 NCO.
Yes.
Well,
so doing our impulse purchase with food.
But still lose 2 kilo, right? So that's a good thing.
Reframing, yes.
Okay, so Nur Azza say hi. Hi.
Okay. Nur Azza.
Oh yeah, and go on.
Yeah, I have a question. In some point, I can't keep up with learning at school and meeting people because usually they make me drain in some ways. Sometimes getting anxious without reasons and with reasons. It's actually making me struggling in school. So I get anxious and scared in my class until I get uncomfortable feeling want to cry. I wanted to get out from the class, but I want to know, is there any ways I can do to reduce this? Because sometimes it makes me feel numb, no feelings. Thank you so much for your question, Nur Azza. I think these are very real situations, especially when you're at that point where you feel that you can't control many things, and that can actually make a person feel even more helpless and numb from that situation. And thank you so much for your trust in this platform, for sharing your experience. So what can you actually do to reduce this? Practically, there are some ways that can help a person to manage anxiety, right? One of the very good technique is what we call as a deep breathing technique. Yeah, so maybe we can try to take, let's say, a minute. We can do this together. For you guys out there who may have been experiencing or still experiencing, like what Nur Azza shared, do feel free to do this as well. If you don't, you can also do this because it's good for you, right? So basically, when we are feeling anxious, that's basically our body's fight and flight response being activated. Basically, what that means is your body is going into like a war kind of mode, right? It's like your body alarm system trying to protect you. So actually, all this anxiety, depression, it is a mechanism to try to protect you from harm. But then even though, as you shared earlier, sometimes without reasons, you feel that because your body already is like an auto activation mode. So how do we, in a way, try to deactivate this? One method is what we call as a deep breathing method. So for you guys out there, try to use this 1 minute. Okay, we can do this together. So as you're breathing right now, you can close your eyes if you want to. As you're breathing, you try to take notice of air going into your nose, okay, and slowly going into your lungs. Then you feel the air coming out from your lungs and out from your nose. You can feel the air is actually feels very smooth, very fine, going in and then coming out. Okay. Now, this is what we call as breathing relaxation, right? Whenever we are anxious, again, our body will go into this fight and flight war mode. This alarm is being activated. So one very good way to deactivate this is try to take notice of your breathing. Okay, you don't have to force yourself to breathe like breathe so hard. Okay, just breathe normally and try to feel the air going into your nose, into your lungs, and then coming out again. You can do this anytime, whenever you can. Even let's say, I like to encourage my clients to do this. It's like, in school or if you're at work, from your desk while you're walking to your toilet, maybe it's just like a 10 seconds kind of distance. Take this 10 seconds to focus on your breathing. Okay, basically we're just trying to remind our body that to go into this calmer kind of state. When you reach the toilet, you don't want to do, that's fine. Okay, so try to practice this over time. And if you don't have anxiety, depression, you can do this as well because you need to breathe anyway, right? And I know everyone is rushing with work. So take this 10 seconds even, just a pause for yourself and for your body. Yeah.
Okay, so remember to breathe when you feel anxious. It will help
breathe.
your body to calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we forget to breathe deeply because we have been busy with our work and busy with our life. Yeah, so it's a good thing to take a couple of minutes just to do some deep breathing exercise. So yeah, next it's do you have this in Mandarin section? Unfortunately, no, because we haven't have a Mandarin. Yeah, we haven't have a Mandarin section. Now we are still using in English session. So one thing I would ask. So is there, Evelyn? Is there any other Facebook page that do Mandarin sessions on Facebook Live?
Facebook Live about mental health, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am not entirely sure, but I and my business partner, we do quite frequent Mandarin sessions about mental health related kind of talk and even therapy because I'm a Mandarin speaker myself. But I think if you guys would like to look up, you guys can perhaps look up on our Facebook page. We have a lot of content and posts on Mandarin. You guys can just go to Facebook and look for MPS Psychological Services. But if let's say many of you are keen to have live session like this in Mandarin, maybe something for us to consider as well, Janine. Because before we go on live, we actually spoke in Mandarin just now. Yeah. So maybe if many of you are keen and want to learn more, understand more in Mandarin, in Cantonese, we can do that as well. So just let us know and we can plan something out.
Yeah, we'll consider about this doing Mandarin session in the future. Thank you for your feedback. And next is, okay, who can a person reach out to apart from the professionals?
Yeah, so we shared that a little just now. Mental health professionals, reaching out to people or a community, let's say NHA. And also you can reach out to, like, say, NGOs like the Befrienders, Lifeline Malaysia, who are trained para-counselors themselves, who are equipped with the skills, abilities to manage. Yeah.
So yeah, I just posted the link to befrienders.org.my. You can also contact them via their hotline which is 0376272909. It's in the comments. So if you can call them if you feel, not just you must be feeling depressed to call them. Actually, if you feel lonely or feel suicidal or maybe you feel sad, you can just call them and reach them out. They'll be lending you a pair of listening ears.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, you can try out Befriend Us. And next.
Christopher Chong, definitely if you have a guy friend that just call you out of the blue, do not ignore them. They might sell you MLM products, but mostly they don't. They just need a listener, and who knows, this is a drinking session would help them walk out from depression a little. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we just want to be listened to and being heard, right? And with depression, anxiety, it can be very, very lonely. Yeah, but I wish to reach out to you guys out there that you're not alone in this. You're really not alone in this.
Next, it's Hafsa says, agree. When we know who we are, we know how to work on ourselves. Yes, I totally agree with this statement. When you know yourself well, then you know how. That's actually the first step of getting better and getting stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nur Ashikin say hi, and
Hello.
Terence says, there's so much stigma around mental health. It's rare these days, at least in my experience, to not be shamed for suspecting you have a mental illness, let alone even seek help. All right, my parents know practically nothing about mental health, so they blame me for thinking I'm sick and wanting to see a psychiatrist. So I feel you, Terence. Yeah, maybe parents of older generations, they don't have this kind of awareness about mental health, and just I'll pray for you and try to talk about this with your parents. Maybe even share this session or this video with your parents to let them know more about a mental illness. Anything
And
to add in, Evelyn?
yeah, Terence, thank you so much for sharing as well. And it can be a very frustrating experience, right? Especially, people around don't seem to understand. And a lot of times, depression and anxiety is not something, you can do a blood test. There's a physical report in your face and say that, okay, you have depression, anxiety. A lot of all these things is really something that we feel. And sometimes putting it into words can also be very difficult. Yeah. But want you to know that, you're not sick, feeling this, going through this, it can be an extremely difficult times. And I hope that, you could reach out to people who you trust, either if it's the MHA support group or befrienders or reaching out to a mental health professional. Yeah, there are some free either online or very prorated rate for counseling as well. And if you guys are keen, perhaps we can, compile a list. Yeah, Jenny, I'll pass some over to you as well for people
Okay.
to reach out for help. But do know that you're not alone in this.
Okay, let's move on to next. Nur Azza says how to getting a treatment, but your family is not aware of you.
Mm. Yeah. My first question is not aware, meaning not aware about your condition. Just would like to understand a little bit more, Nur Azza. Maybe you can type it in the comment section. And one thing that I would also consider is normally, if let's say we see minors, so anyone who is below 18, they're still under the guardianship of their parents, right? If let's say you are feeling really, really bad and you're a minor, you're feeling really bad, feeling really depressed and helpless, you can also call Talian Noor. Yeah, you can Google that up. You can call Talian Noor to reach out for help. Uh, they have individuals who can perhaps guide you through on what you can do in situations like this. If let's say you told your parents that you are not feeling well, you want to see a doctor, you're feeling depressed, anxious, but perhaps due to lack of understanding or knowledge, people around you don't take it seriously, to reach out for help. Again, I repeat, you can call Talian Noor and speak to the individuals there, and they will be able to perhaps guide you on what you can do. Yeah, but in situations, if let's say you would like to speak to someone, reach out to any NGOs on this. Okay, so Nur Azhar replied, it's about my family. It's not knowing that you feel bad. My family just said that I am lazy dengan pemalas. Right. Must have felt really bad about that, Nur Azhar. Yeah, especially when, again, you try your best to reach out to speak to them, but not being understood in this situation. Yeah. So what can you actually do about this? Oftentimes, I would really, again, reach out to people who can understand you in this situation. If let's say you're in a situation where you are unable to pay for mental health services or support, okay, reach out to any NGOs that is available. Yeah, we will compile a list, and then we'll post it up perhaps sometime within this week or next week. There are services out there that you can seek for, but if let's say you would like to seek for actual mental health professional services, if you are a minor, unfortunately you will need like a guardian to come along with you. If your parents seems to be someone who doesn't seem to understand, perhaps look into reaching out to some other relatives or adults who can actually, bring you to seek the treatment or help that you need.
Okay. So move on to Snoopy. Is it true that a patient don't have a choice on which professional that they may choose, which they are able to relate to at a GH?
Okay, thank you for your question, Snoopy. So, is it true that patients don't have a choice? Well, generally, if you're talking about psychologists like myself, right, this may be a little surprising. So, in Malaysia, the entire Malaysia, including Sabah Sarawak, yeah, in government hospitals, we only have 30 clinical psychologists nationwide, right? So some hospitals they may not have, some hospitals they do have. So in that sense, typically in general hospital, you can't actually like pick per se, because the resources is very, very limited if you want to see a clinical psychologist. But if let's say you go for a private, then definitely you have this option to choose. We understand that when it comes to private, it can be a little pricey as well. And then when you come for sessions, sometimes you need to be able to click with your therapist as well. It's not that the therapist is not good, but just can't find the vibe, right? We hear a lot of individuals do try to find a therapist that is suitable for them if they have the financial means. But going back to your question, in GH, generally, because of resources, can't actually pick per se, because sometimes in one hospital or in one state, like say my friend in Seremban, there's only one psychologist in the entire
God.
state for government. Other places like Terengganu, I'm not sure if they have psychologists there. Yeah, so that is the limitation, which I think for us, clinical psychologists and our society, Malaysian Society of Clinical Psychology, we are constantly trying to also, reach out and to see what we can do at the policy making level. Of course, working together with many other bodies as well to make mental health services more available.
Okay. So next is Christopher asking, do you think you guys could also create more awareness for mental health, just like the BLM hashtags? Oh yeah, I think you're referring to the George Floyd incidents.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Jingming?
We can. It just takes time. Still takes times. Yeah, then that's actually the purpose of this doing this live and also setting up this page. We are actually doing how to say we are actually one of our motto is actually to defeat or to debunk the stigma against mental illness patients or people. Yeah, so this is one of the direction we are working on to destroy the stigma, basically.
Yeah.
But if you are saying like VR hashtags, that's wow, that's huge. Like somebody have to die. No, sorry, not about that. Not
Yeah, I think
VR.
with all these campaigns, right, a lot of times, it's like a crisis happen,
Uh-huh.
then the it's like the crisis can be either someone, some unfortunate thing happen, can be any crisis at all. Then there's this, about retweeting or rehashtagging. But when it comes to mental health, I guess this has always been an effort as well. Like, hashtag mental health awareness. We even have World Mental Health Awareness Month and Day. All these are ongoing, but I guess I don't think there's a direct answer to that. I think with mental health, just like physical health, it would take a lot of education. It's something that is ongoing, right? It's not something that is like boom, happen, then it dies off a little, right? It's something that is ongoing. And this would require a lot of joint effort from many individuals, the community, the mental professionals, non-mental professionals. It is supposed to be something that is holistic.
So yeah, and one more thing is maybe because right now we actually try to educate people, like not people out there, more about mental health. Yeah, that's also the reason why we are doing Facebook Live is actually to spread the awareness to individuals that they may not have this kind of awareness. Yeah, because we know that in other countries, like for example, Western countries, they have this awareness. They are more aware of this. Therefore, they even like for example, the parents they understand this. Yeah, if the people in the country knows and aware about this, it's actually it will make a huge impact on helping people that suffer from this illness to recover faster because of there won't be much stigma against all these kind of things because everybody will be aware. It's actually not that how to say weird or not that um, not that yeah. It's actually it's more common than we know. It's just
Yeah.
that people are maybe in our country people are starting to get aware about this. So yeah, we are working on this. So yeah. Okay, next. All right, Hafsa says if a person is in their depressive episode, and I'm
Okay.
talking about bipolar, where they off all of their sock mats and gadgets, how can we reach them to help them? Or will they be okay by themselves as the time passes?
Great question, Hafsa. Thank you for asking. I guess this is something that a lot of us we feel that we need to really do something to make sure this person is okay, right? Just like the example that I gave earlier, listening to music, you can just listen and then listen to positive songs to feel better. But a lot of times, when the person is in a depressive episode or more, a lot of times they just really just want the space and just want to be alone, right? But that doesn't mean that we will just leave this person aside and not check in with this person. Yeah. So when this person is at this phase, right, there are a few things that you can actually do. So one of the few things is, number one, if you would like this person to know that if he or she needs anything, he or she can reach out to you, right? You can actually tell them as simple as, I know perhaps you might want your space right now, but if you want to speak to anyone, I'll be here to lend you a listening ear, right? So you give this person an offer to reach out when he or she wants, but not also pushing, like, trying to actually pull this person out from this state, because it is very tempting to do that a lot of times, because we really want this person to be well, right? All these are well intended, but reaching out to this person like this would be helpful. Secondly is that a lot of times we may focus a lot into doing things, what not to do, right? What not to do when a person is anxious or depressed. But perhaps what we can also check in with this person, if he or she is in a depressive episode, check in with this person. What would be helpful for you right now? Do you need anything? What would be helpful for you that I can actually help you with? The person saying, no, I don't need anything. Then respect that space that they need, but also offer them that they can reach out to you whenever they want to. When a person is in a depressive episode, a lot of times, whatever you say, even though you're well intended, you can never say enough of the right things, right? Even if you say 100% the right things, but with the same statement, it doesn't mean that how I receive it and how you receive it can be the same way. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'll feel better from that. So will they be okay by themselves as the time passes? Maybe yes, maybe no, but most importantly, check in with them every once in a while. If they are in a depressive episode, a lot of them, they may not feel motivated to go out, right? Then slowly we may feel that, okay, because this person don't feel comfortable, then I don't want to call this person out anymore, right? That person maybe will feel that, I feel even lonelier in that sense. So what we can do as friends is perhaps reach out to this person by saying that, I know days where, you just want to be alone, you don't want to go out, but I would just want you to know, if you are okay, that I will still ask you out every now and then. If you don't feel like, you can just let me know, but I'll still reach out to you. And if you feel like, feel free to join us on this. So again, offering that option to them. Okay, it doesn't mean that you have to already do something about it right now, because oftentimes this person may need space. So ask what the person needs. If the person needs any problem solving solution from you, what would be helpful? Secondly, give the space. Thirdly, reach out, allowing this person this choice.
So yeah, those are the steps we can take when we want to try to help out our friends or family that are facing this kind of problem. And next, it's Snoopy says not enough resources is a huge setback. What do you think about that, Evelyn?
Yeah, I think actually right now the government, they are actually doing a lot of many different campaigns and programs, right? Effort is definitely there. But if you say about to reach out until the point where it is not stigmatizing, I think we're still, a long way to go in that sense. Insurance is not covered in Malaysia for mental health. Only certain mental health disorder, for example, depression or postpartum, and can only, can you claim if you see a psychiatrist through medication. But if you see therapy in Malaysia, it is not claimable. In overseas, some countries, it is claimable, like for X amount of session. So yes, it is a huge setback, but this wouldn't stop us from continue to advocate, continue speaking for mental health, and I do really believe that this shouldn't just be limited with only mental health professionals. Chats like this, a community, us coming together, us lending support with each other, that would definitely make a big impact.
So yeah, about to add in something. Just now, Evelyn mentioned about there's not much insurance company covered for mental health. Well, I happen to know that AI has coverage from their medical card. I think it's around it will coverage for 1,500 ringgit per year if you visit a psychiatrist. No matter what psychiatrist, as long as this psychiatrist is legal and is certified by the MHO. Yeah, so if you want to look up more information, you can look for maybe some of your AI agents about that information. So yeah, that's add in. So my Michelle says that I pray that someday mental health awareness is taught or exposed properly at schools, and pray that all our mental health professionals are blessed. Well, thank you for saying that, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, we do really hope that one day it's properly thought and there's more awareness on this, because it is, again, a medical condition. It's not in your head, and we need people coming together and plan effort, join hands together to make this happen, I believe. But thank you so much for your
Yeah.
blessings.
All right. Yeah. Here's another question from one of our previous Facebook Live sessions.
Sure.
So it goes like this. Being sad is different from being depressed. Yet people are willing to cheer people who are sad, but even more harder on people who are actually depressed. My boss actually says that he has no pity for depressed people because he says happiness was a choice. I've been depressed for nearly a year plus, yet people around me don't want to be around me and blames me for feeling depressed, telling me to stop thinking about it without actually helping me get through my feelings. I have no support from my family and friends. How do you actually overcome the depressing feeling on your own? Yeah, that's it. Um,
The last statement, how do
mhm,
you overcome it on your own? When you say that, there's this heaviness associated with that, right? Because with depression, anxiety, we are all social animals, right? We can't actually overcome this on our own by ourselves per se, right? So this journey, I hear you that it can be extremely helpless and lonely in this journey. But again, do know that you're not alone. People around may not understand, right? That depression, anxiety, there are actually many factors. When client asks me, what is the cause to it, right? There are so many different causes, because if you look at from the biological perspective, if you have thyroid, then it may lead to depression. If you look at the social perspective, all these stresses with work, relationship, and stuff, from our own psychological perspective, our experiences, whether we experienced trauma before, all these come in play. So many people may, at this point, may not understand that, but would like to reach out to you if you give yourself this chance to reach out to communities who would understand what you're going through. So again, um, you may call, befriend us, you may call Thailand No 15999, you may even, and with MHA, the community, start this conversation with one and another. Don't walk in this journey by yourself. Even though you may feel that people out there don't care, don't understand, but many people out there do care and understand. So it's about reaching to the right group of people to seek this support.
Okay, so we feel you for whoever asked about that question just now. And all right, so here's another question. Should I indulge myself in entertainment when I feel depressed? Because
Mm,
yeah, this question is actually quite interesting. So it's like you are feeling sad,
yeah.
and if should we indulge in entertainment? It's like the other end of a spectrum, so you will balance it out. Like I will feel okay. Is that recommended?
What kind of entertainment though? Just curious to
I don't
know.
know. Like maybe just eat as much chocolate as you want, watch
Uh,
as much K drama if you want, or play as much PC games or PS5 if you as you want, just
yeah.
to to balance it out.
Okay, good question. I think um, when it comes to, indulging all this can be a way of coping,
Mhm.
right? Coping in the sense that when I feel that I'm sad or anxious, I do something else to get my mind off things, doing something that I enjoy, right? I think that is a way to cope, right? That's good. However, try to take notice if, let's say, again, there's this underlying thing that is happening, like what we talked about earlier. If left untreated, right? Whether or not all this coping is actually a way to not maybe resolve certain issues that is happening in your life at this point of time. Again, not to say all this coping is not helpful. It is definitely helpful because it makes you feel good, right? But if you find yourself that this issue that is making you feel stressed and anxious keeps coming back again and again, and you use the same method to cope again and again, and then it still comes back, maybe something to look into, right? Whether or not we are using this coping to actually deny like what is actually happening, which may not exactly be very, very helpful. So
Mm.
one thing to take note is take home message is try to observe, try to look back if these patterns of behavior is it related to the same problem that you are experiencing. If it is, if you like to, perhaps something to look into.
All right. So that's all for this session. I would like to thank Evelyn for joining us
Thank
again for this time.
you.
Yeah. So okay. So there's actually I've posted some links down at the comments below. There's the befrienders. So if any one of you feel that you are lonely or you might have this problem, might have depression, or if you're feeling suicidal, yeah, feel free to call the befrienders, or you can log on to their online website just to book a session. And yeah, and if you want to know more anything related about mental health, you can also follow our page, which is MHAAS, Mental Health Awareness Advocacy and Support Group. And also you can follow uh, MPS Psychology Services on Facebook as well. And one more thing, I need help from you guys, which is I will be putting a link to a feedback form. So yeah, feel free to leave your feedbacks in this feedback form so we can improve on doing Facebook Live, or we can get an idea on how to improve, or also idea for next topic in the feedback form. So yeah, be sure to fill up. You just took 1 minute, and yeah, help us to get better in this as well. So once again, thank you, Evelyn, and we will see
Having
you
you.
next time. All
Yep.
right.
See you guys.
See you.
Bye.